My name is Steve McAllister and I'm 24 years old. Right now I'm a graduate student at Central Michigan University and I'm also the graduate assistant for sexual assault services at CMU. Before I got to college, I was like most men when it comes to dealing with sexual assault. I knew that it was a bad thing. I knew that I didn't agree with it happening and I wish that it didn't, but I didn't think it would ever personally affect my life. I was personally touched by this my sophomore year. When my girlfriend told me that she had been raped her freshman year. I didn't feel like there was enough education for men to let them know what they can do to help stop sexual assault from happening and to help people that they love who have experienced it. A lot of times on college campuses especially, it's swept under the rug because universities don't want to get a reputation that sexual assault is a problem on their campus, when in reality all campuses are pretty much alike when it comes to sexual assault. It's a big problem everywhere. We want to believe that we live in a just world where bad things don't happen to good people. We don't want to believe that it can happen to our sisters. We don't want to believe that it can happen to us. But in reality, it can. We need to start breaking down these myths and really seeing the truth and seeing what sexual assault really is. And once we start doing that, I think we'll be ready for some change.
My name is Allison White and I'm 23. I attended the University of Florida in Gainesville. Before I began college, I only knew the word rape. I didn't really even know the word sexual assault. I always thought that rape was the guy behind the car that grabs you at a mall parking lot. So I never thought that I would be the kind of person that would be a victim of rape.
My name is Corry and I'm a nursing student at Columbia University in New York City. I went to college at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. You think that it would never happen to you and it's going to be somebody jumping out of the bushes. I certainly thought it was nothing that would ever happen at the school that I was at, because it seemed like such a protected environment. I was sexually assaulted about 2 months after I started school. I was hanging out with my friend who was dating one of the guys on the football team. She wanted to go out and see if maybe he was at one of the bars. About 2:30, I guess, her boyfriend and a bunch of his friends came into the bar and they were really drunk. We left the bar at around 3 and piled into a cab to get back to campus. And I sat on one of his friend's laps in the front seat. My friend and her boyfriend asked me if I would walk him up to his room to make sure that he got into bed safely. I went into his room, I sat down on the couch and I was thinking to myself, like, should I walk home by myself at this time of night? It was 3 in the morning. Thought it might be dangerous, ironically.
I was sexually assaulted 2 weeks after I started college. I probably, within an hour, had about 4 or 5 fuzzy navels. I had about 1 or 2 beers. I'm not exactly sure how much I consumed, but I knew I was pretty out of it. Just having a good time. I wasn't falling down drunk kind of thing. And stuck my head out a window and was smoking a cigarette, in which case I met my assailant, who was laying on the roof of the fraternity house. I don't know who started kissing who, but there was some kind of kissing ball in that hallway, and that's when we decided to go somewhere else. We ended up going into another secluded place. It was a big community group shower that was under construction. I placed my cut down and we just began kissing, and before I knew it, he had exposed himself, and at that point I said, no, I'm going to leave. And then I stood up and I was sort of on my way out, and he sat down and he didn't grab me, he just sort of guided my arm. He grabbed my hair sort of at my temples and Didn't think really anything of that because we were just kissing, but before I knew it, he started to push my head down, forcing me to perform oral sex on him. He was lifting himself off of this chair, and at one point I started to gag, and he didn't take his hands out of my hair. He just told me not to get sick on him. He moved his leg over to the left a little bit. I just was sort of in a state of shock. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I think that was sort of my defense mechanism, was finding a way out. And once that failed, I just felt even more vulnerable.
He became very forceful, and he was at least twice my size, you know. And he held me down, and he just started doing different things to me. And he raped me for over 5 hours total in the end. And I begged over and over and over again, please stop, please stop, please stop. You know, no, I don't want to do this. He spread my legs and looking at me just like disgust, with just like total disgust on his face, and proceeding to rape me again. I remember like turning to the side and seeing the clock, and it was 6:07 in the morning, so like 3 hours after it had all started. I just wanted to be anywhere but besides where I was. And I walked back to my dorm. I felt disgusting and dirty and horrible, and I just went upstairs to my room, took off all my clothes, and went and took a shower, which is exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Everybody has their own coping mechanisms. Some people will bounce right back. Other people, it might take a lifetime to get better and to start dealing with it. And some people never do.
I didn't know what had happened to me. I know that I had said no a few times. I know that I didn't agree to what had happened. As far as thinking to myself, calling it rape, saying that I was raped, in the technical terms, one, I thought intercourse had to be part of it. Forced intercourse. I wasn't in a healthy mind state at all. I was a wreck. I was having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. At one point it had gotten so bad, which is right towards the end, about 2 days before I reported it, I had had an anxiety attack to the point where I hyperventilated and passed out. My way of healing was to fight back. And so I would do presentations and do things to help other victims, to let them know that they're not alone.
I didn't tell anyone for like a week. I just didn't even feel like alive. I felt like I was living inside of this shell, and I was walking around like a zombie around campus when I went outside. I didn't want to say that I had been raped. I mean, I wouldn't call it rape to myself. And I just kept crying. I said no, I said no, I said no. I'm scared that I'm pregnant. Some friends took me to go get a pregnancy test, which came back negative, thankfully.
My name's Joe Kelly. I'm one of the registered nurses here in the emergency department. But the first thing we like to do, as long as the victim is stable, is collect the evidence, because there's a 72-hour window for evidence collection. We also offer emergency contraceptive for the victim. This again has to be given within 72 hours of the assault.
People think that it's just sex and that it really shouldn't be very traumatic to somebody. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, the only thing that we really truly have control over in our lives is our body. And once someone takes that control away from us, what else do we have?
My name is Howard Clery. My job title is Executive Director of Security on Campus. We are a nonprofit organization that provides advocacy for the victims of crime on college campuses nationwide.
I'm Catherine Bath, and I'm the Program Director here at Security on Campus. Sexual assault, of course, is a big concern of ours. For the majority of sexual assault victims who call us, it would be categorized as acquaintance rape, because in some way they knew or were acquainted with their attacker. Young women, often they're only 18 years old when they get raped. It often happens the first semester of your freshman year. Only about 1 in 25 of those rapes are ever reported.
I talked to the fraternity president. He said, you know, I'm a third-year law student. You can do what you want to do. But as far as reporting it to the police, it's going to be your word against his. No one's going to believe you because you've been drinking.
In all states except Wisconsin, alcohol is considered a date rape drug. If a girl has had 6 or 8 beers, they're not capable of legal consent. And if they've gotten a rape kit done, then that young man will be defending himself in a court of law.
He said, it's not like I took you into the woods and beat you up and raped you. And at that point I said, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't walk to class without being escorted by someone. I said, I had anxiety attacks. I know something has happened to me. I go, yeah, you didn't beat me up and rape me, but you did sexually assault me.
They think it's no big deal having sex with these girls, and they don't realize that because it's against their will, they have broken trust. They have totally, made a young woman feel that the world that they were so happy in, that, that they trusted, that all of a sudden they're powerless.
After I reported the incident, he was arrested 4 days later. The state attorney had told the investigators to arrest him. The next morning at his arraignment, the judge ordered him to leave the county.
I also talked to another girl that had been raped at Notre Dame, and she said that she just wished that she had done something. The guy was still walking around campus, was still going to graduate from Notre Dame and have the same degree as the rest of us. So at that point I decided, if I'm not going to do this for myself, I should do it for other women so that he can't hurt other people the way that he hurt me. The hearing was on December 11th, exactly 2 months after it happened. He tried to deny what had happened, but when they asked him, did you hear her say no? He said, yes, I heard her say no, but I did it anyway. And then everyone kind of did a double take because didn't expect him to answer honestly, because that's the definition of rape, On February 11th, they called me and they told me that he was expelled and he was never welcome on campus ever again, and that if he did come back to campus, he would be arrested for trespassing. And so he was gone.
Even if a man hasn't been abused himself, he knows more than 4 women. He has more than 4 women that are close to him, that he cares about, and people can't tell me that if 1 out of every 4 women in your life is sexually assaulted, that doesn't affect your life. It does. It's something that affects everybody.
Had it not happened, I don't think I would have, 1, realized how vulnerable I could be. 2, I would not have realized how many women are affected by this, how often it happens, and it's given me direction. I mean, my livelihood, what I want to base my life on and my career-wise, is helping other victims of crime deal with a legal battle that they have to face, because that's the biggest part of this, I think, in the terms of how you're going to deal with it emotionally, is how you're made to feel.
Some days it's still really hard, and I'll have breakdowns, and I just feel like, why do I have to see the world through these lenses? You know what I mean? That this is my view on the world, and it really affects me every day. And I wish some days that for 5 minutes it could not be part of my life, and I sort of just have to realize that it will be part of my life for the rest of my life, and there's nothing, I can't do anything about it. The Corry that existed before I was raped is not, of course it's still part of me, but it's I'll never be able to be that same person again. This is me, it is part of me. It's part of my everyday life.
I still remember the day, but now my anniversaries of the incident are days that I totally pamper myself and do something really fun, and it's more a celebration, almost like a second birthday in my life. So I definitely think I've come a long way, and I definitely don't feel depressed at all about it anymore, because it doesn't control me.
There are 4 guys including myself, that walked across the country last summer, in the summer of 2001. We really felt that doing this walk would really bring some attention to the issue nationally. When you see 4 guys walk through downtown with a backpack on and pushing a baby stroller with a 70-pound pack on it, it's going to get attention, and people are going to want to know what you're doing.
I think, of course, that men need to be involved in sexual assault awareness and issues, and all of that.
And I think when men are involved in it, it also helps the victims, the ones that don't want to come forward or anything like that, to know that there are good guys out there and not to be afraid.
And I think coming forward brings attention to the problem that exists. It allows a lot of discussion and a lot of change to start to take place. I think keeping things quiet and keeping things secret does the exact opposite.
Young men speaking out against rape, it's very good for other young men to hear this from young men, because I think they can explain it or in a way that other young men can understand. You know, not all young men are guilty of this kind of behavior.
It's not a male bashing thing. You know, men don't want to see the women in their lives be hurt. Men are very likely to know somebody that has been raped.
If you know someone who has been assaulted or know someone who knows someone, be that support network, because we can't do it alone. Survivors can't do it alone. You need someone to pick you up sometimes.
People always put the label on sexual assault that it's a women's problem, it's a women's issue, and that men really don't need to get involved. I've had men in full dress uniform come up to me crying, saying that this happened to his girlfriend, and that he was really glad that we came and talked to him because we told him some things that he could do to help her out. So there are men out there that care. We just need to reach out to them. One day it might happen where my sister is involved in something, and you're there and you can stop it. And I hope that you will, because I would do the same thing for you.
I'm trying